So, if you're not Canadian and if you're not Mexican, you probably were like going on Wednesday going, what the hell just happened? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump promised during his campaign that he was going to levy retaliatory tariffs on countries that have taken a full advantage of the United States, which includes your friends like China, Qatar, Indonesia. If you look at the list of countries that are there, they're not free trade. There were some tariffs, Stuart, it was over 50% in some cases. And the United States went, oh, that's okay. And Donald Trump said, no, that's not okay. And that's not going to be acceptable anymore. But of course, with everything with Donald Trump, the critics are out saying this is catastrophe. This is the end of the world as we know it. And we are going to go into another, not recession, but words like depression have been floated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rant Network. I'm David Solomon. He is Stuart Brisgell. This is the Rant Network where we talk about all of these wonderful topics from politics to economics to geographics to history to you name it and crazy crap in culture. We love doing this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And these rants are our honest opinions, our diverse perspectives. It is not a news show, people. We're not media houses. We don't pretend to be. We're a podcast where we share what we believe in and we really comment about the absurdities of modern life. So, folks, sit back today because I know that today you'll be yelling at the screen. And I'm going to ask you not to throw tomatoes at Stuart because listen carefully. I haven't even really gone through what Stuart's going to say. But knowing Stuart for as long as I know Stuart and as well as I know Stuart, I'm going to give you an angle you might not have thought about. But here's the thing, folks. Right now, every politician outside of the United States, is going, what the hell? What is Trump trying to do to our country? What is Donald Trump trying to do by levying these absurd tariffs on us? Are we not his friend? Are we not part of the U.S.? We've been hearing comments like, that's it, the world has changed. America's not our trade partner anymore. Folks, statements like that, these political statements, do not add and they do not explain. They're divisive as usual. They're trying to push away the narrative that what those countries have done was wrong. And Stuart, Donald Trump exposed with that long list of countries how much the United States have been beaten up on tariffs that the U.S. has said okay to for decades. So, Stuart, what say you after the bloodbath of the stock market on Thursday and what looks like Friday could be the same? What say you to average Americans and people around the world?
Not a problem. Free and fair trade or globalization has proven to be not very good for the world. And everyone kind of forgets the pandemic and the lack of supplies, the hoarding of government supplies. And you know what? Let's not forget that good old Canada threatened to shut the power off in the East Coast of the United States. Listen, trade partners are great. We have currently a massive change in the world politics arena. And these tariffs, before there was free trade, there were tariffs. So tariffs aren't a new concept. There's something that existed long before free trade. Free trade started coming about when you felt sorry for a country that was just sort of blown up like Germany, and product went out at one price and came in at another price. And then there's something that sort of got figured out, which was really, really, really shown in excess, where China started to manipulate, as other countries do, their labor, their raw materials, their dollar to get more competitive in different areas and kind of break apart from what the original, quote, tariffs were. You know, what President Trump's doing, you got to understand what the problem is in the United States. You have $6 trillion going out in expense and only $4 trillion that comes in. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm assuming everyone listening or watching graduated from grade 3 math and knows that 6 minus 4 leaves a deficit of 2. And $2 trillion, yes, David, put your finger in your mouth, a $2 trillion negative every single year. At what percentage of interest is destitute of being flat broke and bankrupt. And what Donald Trump has done is he's torn the Bandaid off, picked the scab off, and put peroxide right on it without telling you or giving you any warning. However, he did give warning. He said it when he was running for power. He was going to equal this trade. He's doing it, and he's doing it at rapid speed. And I'll tell you quick math. If Dodge takes $1 trillion off the table between fake Social Security of 250-year-old people, which is old as this country, and then goes and tears a Bandaid and brings in $1 trillion of revenue, well, then he has by proxy covered the $2 trillion deficit this country has. And let's be honest, China decided to put a tariff on the U.S. goods of 37%. Now, I don't know about you, but I think Economics 101 will tell you, let's first find the largest consumers in the world. Okay. United States, hands down. You have 30 million people, 40 million people in Canada. Per capita, you utilize less than 0.6% of what an American uses, and that may be very aggressive. So the consumption in the U.S. is normally 2 to 3x to a Canadian who's a North American, just like David, just like me. But somehow we use and consume more. Now, if China puts a 37% tariff on all American goods, in return, it's going to be another tariff coming from the United States against China, and China's production machine will come to a grinding halt. Now, China's population is communist. They only eat what the government gives them. And if the government doesn't give him, he looks like North Korea. China was smart and decided to divest from China production and move to Vietnam, and the United States got wind, and we absolutely crippled Vietnam because Vietnam is a borderline communist country today. Now, moving over to Canada, Canada's realized that it cannot tariff against the United States because for every dollar it goes against the United States, it costs it 10 times. And it's a losing proposition because the United States is in the pole position at present. And these tariffs aren't to cripple Canada or Mexico. It's to put everyone back in the straight line in which they should be. Canada doesn't need to be supported by the United States. It's a sovereign country. It's got 10 provinces. It should have enough income. Mexico is a bolstering economy. It should be able to support itself as well. Why does a tomato cost or cost to import 50 cents and to export $2? It makes no sense. Why does dairy going into Canada at 240% but comes in tariff-free? This is nonsensical mathematics. And everyone needs to come to a center. And I am the firm belief that another motivation for doing something like this is to get control on the interest rates in the United States. Powell needs to be put into check. Powell needs a reason to bring interest rates down. Well, he's just found a way to bring interest rates down, and they will come down fast, which will go to satisfying the debt in the United States. It'll go on you satisfying your credit card bill. It is going against the price of all consumer goods like fruits and vegetables that will come to a normal level. You know, one thing that I did look and analyze and someone brought to my attention is that $1 per hour of manufacturing in the United States is currently $70 for a car, and is only $15 in Mexico. And so the price of a car is theoretically going to go up. And I think that's true. But when you're subsidizing your competition and no longer have the means to produce what's called the war machine, why am I calling it a war machine? Well, unfortunately, we've got accesses on the left, like China, Russia, Iran, that are constantly, North Korea, are producing all kinds of military, not to make Canada safe, Greenland safe, United States safe, Mexico, or even Europe, as Western Europe, but it's to cause harm to all of us. And if we don't start getting the industrial complex moving again, we will be caught in the crosshairs. And whether it's Canada's caught in the crosshairs, Mexico, or the United States, we are all landlocked. And we need to find a way to play nicely together. So if Canada wants to tariff 20% on dairy, United States will tariff 20% on dairy. It's fair. It's amicable. And if you know what, if you don't want to tariff on one side, we won't tariff on the other side. But if you're going to manipulate your currency or your labor costs, you're going to be tariffed, because that's not playing nice. And what David's inferring is every country is upset Because wait a minute, all this free money that was coming in on tariffs on American goods coming into your country is no longer a budgetary item. And I challenge David to look at the budgetary item just from Canada as far as taxes and tariffs received from the United States and remove that from your budget. Already, Canada's economic status puts it below the state of Louisiana. Remove that income from the United States. Canada falls not only below Louisiana, it's substandard to Louisiana. And if you don't know, Louisiana is the weakest, poorest state in the friggin' country. So, David, I am not a big fan of Donald Trump's personality, but I'm going to tell you, I am a fan of this and doing it now. And I think that the markets will turn around. And with over $1 trillion of factories that will be opening over the next 3 years in the United States, I think it's a long play. And I'm actually... You can't do it any other way. There's no soft and easy. Governments change too fast in the United States. And unlike Canada, 10 years, presidents have 4. And they have 2 to midterms. Yeah. How long are prime ministers?
Listen, Stuart, I've been sitting here listening to you very quietly ramble about stuff, and it just fascinates me to just listen because, number one, you get 2 terms, you get 8 years, just like in Canada, you got to get reelected. So let's keep it straight here. Don't make it sound like Canada is some dictatorship. Number 2, you sit here and you talk about the beauty of tariffs. Stuart, 100 years ago, this is exactly what was put into place. Okay. And Thomas Sowell, who's a legendary economist, was saying, listen, you do short-term tariffs, I get it. But if this is your long play, as you just said, there's a danger to the United States. We've gone down this road 100 years ago. And this method is, and I know you, Stuart, no matter what I say, you think I'm wrong. So with all due respect, while I sat here listening to you ramble on about America the Great, let me tell you something. What the United States did was the bully method. It was the bully method. And listen, he's your president. He's here to make America great again. Good for you. Awesome. But the United States is not a specialist in everything. And the United States still needs to work with trade partners because you cannot be perfect in every industry. Number 2, the United States, okay, has a specialty, okay, services. And it is not a manufacturing haven. And you know what? What you've done and what you've said was right. Absolutely right. We need to cut the debt. The debt is a disaster. You need to cut down some of the trade deficits. I get it. What happened here, yes, on Wednesday when he announced his reciprocal tariffs on some countries, I gave a thumbs up. I said, my God, didn't know it was that bad. Why not? But when you look at the auto sector, that, by the way, has begged the American president, don't do this. Now, yes, Ford has announced in Indiana they're going to open, they need more temporary workers because they now need to deal with the shortage that was just caused by the president. And the president is doing a victory lap saying, look how great I am. Look what I did. But the reality that the auto sector has released, and I've said, is that now you've created a complexity that they weren't ready for. This is the thing. In the way that Donald Trump did it, in the speed he did it, you think that Americans are going to adjust fast? The answer is no. You said 3 years. Look how many factories we're going to open. And I'm going to tell you something, Stuart. That's not how real life works, okay? Because you're going to have places that are not going to be able to respond to them. You're going to have industries that are going to be very badly impacted. Americans are going to pay more. And the reaction is going to be, listen, Stuart, when free trade came into place in the first time between the United States and Canada, and it wasn't free trade, and you could talk to me about your father until the cows come through. I don't want to hear it anymore. But I know that the pain in the economy went for years until it adjusted because of adjustments in industries. This is what you're about to experience. I'm not saying, listen to me to the end. Good for the U.S.? Sure. But what you've done is when you look at what the ripple effect in the speed it's done, countries will not be able to respond properly. And if you think crippling Canadians' economy is a good thing for the United States, because we have subsidized Canada, and I hear that again and again. And as a Canadian, I want to barf. Shut up. You subsidized Canada. You want to know what? As a consumer market, do you not want us to sell you? Do you want us to go? No, Stuart. You went on for 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I get a minute.
You had 5. I'm ready to jump.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
First, as usual, go ahead.
Okay, just so you know, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff 1930, and which they say spawned the Great Depression, and the history surrounding that, and was vetoed by the oncoming president thereafter, isn't exactly the same economic status. You know, the American system that was Alexander Hamilton and Henry Clay championed tariffs, a way to stimulate industry. Right? In which, in fact, it is stimulating industry. The act enacted to wake of the Great Depression raised import duties, but it was untimely led retaliatory tariffs. But at that time, the United States wasn't the powerhouse that consumed and disproportionately had money coming in and out. Where post-liberalization rise of free trade was after World War II, where the United States played a key role on establishing general agreements that gave favor to those organizations that were being wiped out, and then put it under the WTO on promoting lower tariffs and free trade. The history is clear. What happened in the 1930s, every economist will tell you, is irrelevant to today, and the production that was going on both sides of the border is now currently disproportionate. And no government has willingly decided to levy an even the playing field that had almost 60 days of launch pad to say maybe we need to rearrange and change, but instead many countries have doubled down. Now, where there has been an imbalance that has been noted and seen, Israel decided to waive all tariffs on the U.S. However, the United States did put a tariff on Israel, and they are basically declaring that tariff as being a war tariff against Israel to subsidize the additional aid that the United States is providing. Now, again, David, we're way over time, and you're 100% correct. And this is a podcast of arguing dueling economics that I'd love to continue with you at a later date. And based on the news cycle, David, you and I are going to have lots of opportunities in the next, I don't know,
ladies and gentlemen,
and you know, these podcasts won't be about Donald Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Stuart Brisgell Network. We hope you enjoyed yourself today as he went off on his monologue, and as is being accused by the President of the United States. Can't get in a word in edgewise. Folks, we'll be back here. I'm just teasing him. We're back here Monday, guys. I'm sure something's going to come up.